I have been keeping up with these weekly breakdowns from XDC because they really kind of spotlight all of the big moves happening around the XDC ecosystem. And it feels as if every single week we start to see more and more growth of not just the ecosystem itself, but we start to see a lot more connections being made with XDC, with some very prominent names, and expansions are happening as well around this entire space. But some of these great projects like XDC or even Hedera are starting to make a lot of noise, even though a lot of people are still overlooking them. So let's actually dive on into this weekly breakdown from April 27th through May 3rd, sorry. And we have here from demos in Dubai to developer opportunities. Here's what happened across the XDC ecosystem last week. So number one, right off the rip, we have a lot more events happening. This is 6 startups pitched at the XDC Enterprise RWA Accelerator Demo Day with Plug and Play TC. This is actually with Tokenization Solutions, which again, they actually just announced a partnership with Hedera, which was big. We also have Clearpool, which by the way, Clearpool, aka Cpool, is an incredible project. I actually think that this is great that we're starting to see some exposure happening around XDC with some very prominent names like Tokeny and Clearpool, but also Polytrade, which we did put a little bit of a spotlight on Polytrade recently. They got tapped in with MasterCard. They're also exposed with JP Morgan. And then others are showcased on how they're shaping the future of RWA tokenization. Tokenization obviously is only becoming more and more of a much bigger narrative than ever before. And it's no longer just about hype. There's numbers on the board. There's over $20 billion tokenized now. A lot of these networks are starting to grow rapidly around the amount that's being, tokenized on chain. XDC recently announced that they're bringing $500 million on chain over the course of the next 90 days with Leaky. So when we think about some of these announcements, when we think about some of these moves, tokenization is not just, here. It's exploding. It's erupting in a big way. And it's only continuing. But on top of that, we also have builders are now live in the XDC RWAI dev sprint, a month-long challenge blending AI and blockchain to advance RWA tokenization as well. So with $78,000 plus in prizes and tools like Eliza OS and Crossman's Goat SDK, teams are building invoice bots, portfolio agents, DAO tools, and more. And this is actually running through May 25th. So love to see that. On top of that, BlockMe, powered by XDC, is bringing builders together across India. Expect pitch sessions, expert panels, and a path to XDC Accelerator, $100,000 in funding. Catch us, Foundership HQ in Bangalore, as well as a few other areas within India. So this is great to see. And this is happening, of course, in the month of May. And then, of course, outside of that, they just wrap it up with the stay tuned for more updates. But overall, some great moves happening around the ecosystem, like I said. And on top of that, we're starting to see more and more market exposure to XDC. We just got a big update from XDC Network, which is XDC is now live on Oku Trade. Now, I've never really heard about Oku Trade because it is a smaller exchange, almost 40,000 followers. But this is just more exposure to XDC, more market exposure, if you will. So again, we still need liquidity. We still need a lot more buying and selling volume anyways. This is actually going to increase volume around XDC. And they even mentioned that, it's an RWA tokenization giant, and they talk about some of the benefits behind it. But, again, we're starting to see more exposure to XDC. I would like to see bigger exchange listings because we still are not listed on some larger exchanges, and it's actually still pretty challenging to tap into XDC. I know that it's on, I want to say Uphold, right? I think it's on Uphold. I haven't used Uphold in a very long time. But outside of that, I know that's on some, pretty prominent exchanges, but not on the biggest ones, which we're still kind of waiting for, right? XDC is still kind of on the sidelines, if you will. But outside of that, we also have over here more RWA focus. XDC has been going all in on tokenization. I just want you guys to understand that. Here we have the institutional RWA mixer by XDC and RWA builders, where ideas surface, connections form, and the future of finance takes shape. This is May 14th at Consensus 2025 Toronto, an evening of conversation, cocktails, and collaboration. I'm actually very excited about this because, again, we're starting to see a lot more focus put on XDC around tokenization initiatives. I think that $500 million, the second that it starts to hit RWA.xyz and you're tracking it, I think that that's when everyone is going to be aware of XDC and how big the network actually is. Not only that, but the institutional side, once they see that $500 million is tokenized on XDC, they're going to be looking into the project. They're going to be looking into the network and saying, all right, well, something has to give 500 million is tapping in already to this network. So, let's see what happens, but I do suspect that institutional adoption around XDC is going to accelerate going forward. But we also have over here from BitCub, we have bringing you live pictures from BitCub XDC Vision Day 2025. And again, this is just more and more events happening around XDC. We're starting to see a lot more exposure to XDC just from, these events, conversations happening around XDC. And it just feels as if the community is starting to grow. So love to see this. And events are so big, in my opinion. I've always talked about why. And last but not least, another event from XDC Innovation Lab. This is RWA Revolution on Blockchain. This is the future. The XDC Innovation Lab brought together industry pioneers to spotlight how RWAs are transforming blockchain, and the energy was undeniable. And we also had some keynote speakers from NCashOfficial, Go Plugin, Avail Project, and then Terraform as well. So some great stuff. Again, really just kind of spotlighting XDC and how it's becoming a big name around RWA tokenization, DeFi, TradFi, and just how big XDC has grown to be over the last couple months. They just continue to make a lot of noise. Now, on top of that, let's talk about the big update that we got, which was XDC Network has now joined the MiCA Crypto Alliance. As MiCA takes effect across Europe, this alliance brings together builders, institutions, and regulators to shape practical, compliant frameworks for digital assets. XDC adds a real-world lens, working with institutions on blockchain use in high-stakes regulated environments like trade finance and RWA tokenization. This step reflects a broader commitment to transparency, compliance, and building trust in the spaces where it matters most. The thing that I'm excited most about with this is the fact that the names behind the MiCA Crypto Alliance are Ripple, Hedera, Aptos, and some very prominent additional names around like the members and even the technical partners. But the fact that we're starting to see a lot more exposure to XDC with Ripple and even Hedera shows us that these big players from the space, these big utility giants, they're starting to collaborate. They're starting to become that multi-chain, giant that's continuing to innovate on every single front. And I'm going to talk about, why I say that here in a second. But let's actually look at the mission statement, because this is where we start to see the focus put on the utility side of the space. The MiCA Crypto Alliance is an industry-led initiative designed to support coordination, establish best practices, and drive cost efficiency under the MiCA regulatory framework. At its core is a commitment to provide access to the most trusted, scrutinized crypto climate data available. The Alliance maintains the industry's most comprehensive ESG database for cryptocurrencies, updated daily to provide members with accurate, reliable insights that meet MiCA's evolving standards. This is the actual challenge. So again, this is just coordinating the view on how they could tap in to the tech, how they could tap into these networks, and the use case value behind these networks as well. This is all just preparing these specific areas around the world for adoption of this tech. And it's around specific markets. For an example, we look at RWA tokenization, but we also look at trade finance when it comes to XDC. When it comes to like Ripple and XRP, obviously it's around payments, Hedera, enterprise grade use cases. But for the most part, these alliances are so crucial to focus on. And here we actually have the full-on announcement. So XDC Network has officially joined the MiCA Crypto Alliance, bringing with it a strong focus on real-world blockchain applications, and a clear commitment to regulation, transparency, and long-term trust. This partnership adds valuable perspective to the Alliance's mission, helping Europe build a responsible and forward-thinking digital asset economy. Again, the growth happening around digital assets and these projects, these prominent projects, it's insane. And it just started to happen over the last 6 months, 7 months or so. But this is why I think that everyone should be looking at the real world use. Everyone is still talking about meme coins and these coins that don't actually have any fundamental value to them. A lot of people are going to be completely surprised by what actually happens over the next couple months. I still think that the market is evolving. I think that the market is really kind of opening up to utility in a big way. And when I say the market, I mainly mean the institutional players, the governmental players as well. And you could really kind of see that through some of these alliances, through some of these moves being made around these utility-based projects as well. And XDC is definitely not new to that. We have over the past few years, XDC has focused on bridging traditional finance and decentralized technologies. It's already active in trade finance, cross-border payments, and the tokenization of RWAs. Areas where regulation is tight and the margin for error is low. The experience makes it well positioned to contribute to the alliance's work around MiCA, especially as European regulators move towards, bringing structure and clarity to the crypto space. And we also have a quote here from the head of Enterprise Alliance and Ventures at XDC Network. We are excited to announce our partnership with the MiCA Crypto Alliance. This collaboration reaffirms our dedication to upholding the highest standards of regulatory compliance and transparency. This step is crucial in building trust and openness with partners in Europe. We look forward to continuing our journey of innovation and contributing to the evolution of the blockchain industry. So yeah, very excited about this. I think that this is great. And like I said, the exposure back to Ripple and even Hedera through XDC is also very exciting to see as well, because we already know with Archax, for an example, back in December, on December 5th, they did announce a partnership with XDC to form a partnership to drive innovation and growth in RWA tokenization. This is the same name that did announce the Hedera Foundation partnership back in 2023, followed by the Ripple announcement back in June of 2024. So again, you're starting to see these big names being tied back to the same alliances, the same, prominent names like Archax, for an example. And this only continues to be more and more spotlighted as we do start to see more and more adoption of specific processes. Like tokenization itself is really kind of showing us that there's a lot of connections being made here. Like in the beginning of this video where I did put a spotlight on Tokeny, for an example, like Tokeny is already tapped in with Hedera in a big way. Some of these other players like Clearpool, for an example, do have exposure back to like XRP or even Flare. So again, you're seeing the utility side of the space collaborating openly. They're starting to become members of these big alliances. Like the DREC Alliance, for an example, has Hedera and Ripple tied to it as well. I don't know if I don't think XDC is tied back to the DREC Alliance, but all of these organizations, these alliances that are being created are all to form this multi-chain push to make sure that this space is successful, to make sure that Web3 becomes, a reality, but also it's to enable the integration and the adoption of the underlying tech within specific areas, like for an example, in the European region through MiCA. So love to see this. I think that this is great for XDC. It's actually very bullish. Now, last but not least, talking more so about tokenization, we did get an update from Julian Kwan, which is the IXS CEO. We'll talk about IXS and why that's a very big name for XDC. I've been in the space long enough to know when something real is brewing. Right now, the energy in RWAs is undeniable. It's not just hype and noise. It's a massive structural shift, and it's happening fast. For years, we've been talking about bridging, TradFi, and DeFi. Now we're seeing the bridges being built by institutions, by protocols, by regulators. Yes, even them. This isn't just a trend. It's the foundation for crypto's real-world utility. The stablecoin tidal wave is here. New ones are launching monthly. And they're not just for trading anymore. They're capital pipes for tokenized real estate, private credit, treasuries. Imagine turning your wallet into your portfolio. Institutions are already looking at the 4% yield in treasuries, but in a high inflation world, that isn't going to be enough for everyone. Private credit, tokenized real estate, these are assets with real yield, real performance, and now real liquidity. RWAs are the new on-chain alpha, and the institutions know it. I've been building towards this moment for half a decade, through the winners, pivots, and is anyone else left still around and alive moment we didn't leave. Flows are coming, not just into the meme coin casino, but into real assets on chain. You can see it in the data. TVL on RWA protocols up, institutional launches up, cross-chain infrastructure maturing, stablecoin to RWA integrations up. It's a real market taking shape. About time too. Some of us have been here since 2018. We used to say, imagine if private equity trade it like public stock. Now we're building the rails to make that happen. Regulated, compliant, liquid. It's not sexy or crazy gambling. It's real infrastructure. And it's what the next $1 trillion in TVL will sit on. IXS is not here to sell dreams. We are here because we believe in the tokenization of all real assets and have seen enough market cycles to know the best time to build was yesterday, the best time to act is now. RWAs are here. IXS is live. The light at the end of the tunnel, that's liquidity. So, when we think about this, okay, we know that tokenization is not just some big narrative. Everything is changing. Institutional adoption, institutional focus is changing. And when we think about IXS, the reason why I bring up IXS is because this is a company that's tied back to a lot of big networks in this space. We have here IXS 2024 paving the path for 2025 and beyond. This got posted back on January 4th of this year by Julian, and they were just talking about scaling for the future. They want to lead the 26 trillion RWA market with the trading and liquidity solution for all RWA tokens. And on top of that, when we look at the names tied to it, okay, so first off, they mentioned a lot of big updates happening, including, of course, like Clearpool, for an example. Like I said, Clearpool is exposed to a lot of these great names, including, of course, IXS. And on top of that, we actually have down here InvestX being talked about a little bit. We already know InvestX does have ties back to XDC. And of course, BNB and XDC networks enabling seamless multi-chain connectivity. This is with, the first integration at InvestX with BNB chain and XDC network, followed by integrations at IXS, Swap. The growing multi-chain ecosystem allows us to help RWA tokens issue and trade. But then also down here, we have XDC Network, built for institutional adoption. XDC boasts a $550 million TVL and scalable enterprise-grade solutions for secure cross-chain transfers. Together, these partnerships, now I don't actually have, an account here, but they do talk a little bit about this because, again, this is that partnership announcement with InvestX and Plug and Play. But I want to go back and really kind of talk about this here, which was the growing IX Swap ecosystem. This is where we actually get that spotlight put on all of the players that they're tapped in with, like Coinbase, Spartan, UOB, Line, BNB, XDC, of course. So when we were really kind of talking about this, IXS wants to be a leader around this. They want to accelerate tokenization initiatives, and XDC does have exposure to IXS already to really kind of make this become a reality with XDC, which means XDC is actually exposed to that $26 trillion RWA market, which we already knew initially because of the amount of money flowing on chain and on the XDC network around tokenization. I think right now it's about $15 million. Within the next 90 days, it will be $515 million, which is huge. In fact, it will make it the third largest. Actually, it will make it the second largest layer 2 or layer 1 by RWA value, because the layer 2 that's there is number 2 right now. But layer 1s are like the main focus around tokenization initiatives because of how secure they actually are. But overall, some very big announcements happening around XDC, and this is becoming a very common thing. Almost every single week, we see more and more updates happening around XDC, which is why I do think everyone should be paying attention to what XDC is doing and how big they are becoming. So with that being said, I hope that you guys enjoyed this video. If you guys definitely leave a like, subscribe, turn notifications on because of more free content. You guys are more than welcome to follow me on Twitter and join the free Discord in the description below. And with that being said, guys, Nick, thanks for watching. Peace out.